Hello, this is Wanker Reviews, and today I'll be doing a video on In Fabric, starring Marie Baptiste, about a cursed dress that causes havoc in whoever buys and wears it. This is sort of an anthology movie with two stories involving one dress. The first story involves a woman named Sheila who is a middle-aged woman who is newly divorced, and she decides to go on a blind date and wants to buy something new to wear, and that's where she encounters this dress. The movie starts off very promising. We follow Sheila not only going on a couple of blind dates, the first blind date being very disastrous, but we also encounter her son who lives with her, and she also has to deal with his bitchy girlfriend who's always lurking around the house and giving her a hard time. So the movie is actually very interesting at first. And then after an hour, I started to wonder where the movie was going. It started to drag on a bit. The story never seems to progress. Strange things start to happen here and there, and that's about it. But then the moment something does start to take a turn in a different direction, the segment actually ends abruptly, and I was left feeling very unsatisfied. The second story was actually much worse. The characters were very uninteresting, and it features a man who has a friend who buys him a dress to wear as a joke during an alcohol-fueled night. The male character was boring and annoying. He ends up going through strange circumstances after wearing the dress, like the woman in the first segment, and it starts to get to a point where it's very repetitive. Like, we already went through a whole hour of the first woman going through all these things, and now we're having to watch it all over again just with a male character who's not as charismatic and doesn't have an interesting backstory surrounding him. One good thing I will say about the movie is that it is very well made. It looked like the creators actually took time with it and actually put their heart and soul into it. And I also really loved the bizarre imagery. It's very perverted. It's very out there, but then bizarre imagery is all throughout this movie, and it does get to a point where it's shocking and interesting at first, and then you start to wonder what all those images really mean. Like, what do these certain scenes mean, because they're so bizarre and so random, and it just seems like it's just weird and strange just for the sake of being strange. Like, there's no meaning behind it. It just felt shocking just for the sake of being shocking. Also, the movie never really explains who the antagonist is. Like, you really don't know if they're Satanists, you really don't know if they're witches, if they're a cult. It doesn't really explain anything about them. And sometimes knowing less is creepier, sometimes knowing less is more, but for this movie in particular, this movie just did not work for me at all, and I have to give it like a 4 out of 10. It was very disappointing. I thought the trailers were very promising. I thought seeing a black female lead was very interesting because you really never see too many black female leads in horror movies. So I'm really sad to say this was very disappointing. But yeah, 4 out of 10.